The reason the truthers here on YouTube and the truthers around the United States, they're speaking out, the majority of you will never win the fight. Okay, that's what I want to talk about in this video. First off, because we have a big illness in this country and we're in a very sick society, even with the truthers, very, very sick. And I hate to say it that way, but that's the reality. See, the biggest problem that I'm looking at right now is nobody wants to get up to do anything about anything. The first reason you'll lose is because you never got up to do anything about anything. The second reason you can never win is because you're hooked up on the tool. That's right, the tool, money. Because the majority of you so-called truthers don't even understand the monetary system whatsoever. You don't even understand what they've done to us from the very beginning. So let me give you an example. Maybe you'll be able to understand it, maybe you won't. But it should be plain and clear in your face after I say this to you. So let's go back to the beginning of the monetary system as we know as the dollar in this country. And let's discover how that's actually working. See, since the Federal Reserve came into place, which was never a government entity to begin with, which was privately owned, and they took over the monetary system in this country, this is how they done it. So let's just say there's $0 in society in our country. It's the very beginning. They just now came in. Now let's just say they just, good for an example, let's say they printed up $50,000. This is how they started it off. Just give you an example, right? So they'd printed up $50,000, then they tagged interest to that $50,000. But the interest was never printed up, just the $50,000 was. So when they gave you the money, your dollar, it was tagged with interest on it. So for every dollar you had to pay back for that $50,000 had interest on it. So even if we all came up with the $50,000 to pay them back, we still could not pay them back. Now that's all the money that's ever been printed. That's all the money in society, for my example, right? That's all the money that's in society. It's the 50,000. But if we gathered up that 50,000 and gave it back to them, we still in debt to them because they want their interest that they never printed. So to pay that back, they give us another loan. Out of that loan, we pay them their interest. But that loan also has interest tagged to it that they did not print up nor give to you. Same scenario repeats itself. Now you get a number of people getting loans from these criminals, these bankers, and they print them up money with interest tagged to it that's never printed. Do you follow what I'm telling you? The interest is never printed. So even if we took both loans I just told you, the one that paid off the first 50,000's interest, we gave back their 50 grand and we owed them interest, so we got another loan for them, and we used that to pay off their interest on the 50,000. But now that loan had interest to it that we couldn't pay off because that wasn't printed, right? And somebody else come along and got a loan from them, and now that loan has interest tagged to it that wasn't printed. Now you have interest owed over here and interest owed over there. And then somebody else come along and got a loan. Now you have interest over there and interest over here and interest over there. All of this interest has never been printed. So even if we took all three loans and accumulated all the money they gave us and gave it back to them, we would still owe them interest on all three of them loans. It wouldn't be possible to ever pay it back because they never printed that money. So now what would they do to get that interest out of you? Oh, they might seize your oil. They might seize, which is control of your gasoline. They might seize your electric. That's right, they might take ownership of that. They might take your house. They'll take ownership of that. Do you follow what I'm saying? Because the entire time it was a scam. It was a setup to keep us in debt to them. And they would never print enough money so that you could ever pay the debt, because for every dollar they printed had an interest tagged to it. And they never printed enough to pay interest back, ever. So you would have to use the currency to pay them back, but you could never pay the interest back. And even if you got two loans and you paid it back and you paid off the interest for the first loan, you would still owe them interest on the second loan, which there would be no money left to pay that interest back. So therefore, they would see something from you that they felt was worth the value of whatever the amount of interest was. Do you follow what I'm telling you? This is what they have done to us. Now, of course, everything I gave you is examples because we're talking major amounts of money with major amounts of interest that could never be paid back. This is what criminals do. And that's who these people are, criminals. And they will use that to seize and take possession of stuff that never belonged to them. It's basically thievery right from the very start. So here we have all you so-called truthers that think that you have to have their tool, the money. And we have a ton of you that are speaking out that won't do anything unless you're paid the tool, money. The money that's owed by the very people that you're fighting against. The very people that's responsible for your government's behavior are these people. Because your government wanted money too. That's right, just like the rest of you. And then when you're given too much of it, it swells up your head. It's like a virus. Power and greed. It swells up your head. And you begin to believe you're something you're not. You're somebody you're not. And we see prime examples of that all over the world right now. You ever get into a rich community and they look down at you? And the reason they look down at you is because they feel they're better than you. Because they have more of that tool than you do. Maybe they live in a mansion and drive a Porsche. That's right. And own a couple of Lamborghinis. And a Porsche too. That's right, live in their mansion. Have a swimming pool, jacuzzi. Maybe they even have their own billiard. They have everything and anything that they ever wanted. They have everything because they got all this tool provided by them, bankers to them. But every bit of that they've gotten, most of it's through thievery. You ever go get a loan on anything? It always has interest tagged to it. Interest. Just like with the bankers. Interest tagged to their money. That can never be paid back because they never print the money to pay the interest, because any money they print has interest tagged to it. So it's an elaborate way to steal from you. And that's exactly what they've done from the very beginning. So you truthers are up here and you had to have their tool. Their tool, their money. You've already lost. You can't beat them. There's no way you could ever beat them, even if you tried. Even on your best day, you couldn't beat them. Because you're not going to beat them as long as you have to have their tool. Now, there is no laws that says we can't create our own tool, our own money. There's no way to tell you can't recreate your own money. The best thing that could ever happen to this country right now would be for us to walk away from their system. To create our own money. I know a lot of people, there's controversy here because a lot of people are believe about we should go back to bartering and trading because that's not as easily corrupted. But you're not going to be able to get back to bartering and trading because enough people won't have any skills to make anything to trade with. Because that's been taken away from you too. The skills that people have, they had to go to college and pay the tool to get. Then they were only taught just enough to do that skill. So you're going to use that skill to make a trade, huh? How are you going to do that? I'll give you an example. Let's say in one small town we have our new monetary system created. Okay, in another small town over here, which the new monetary system, excuse me, is money. Okay, just for you people who don't understand that. Then we have another small town over here that's going to barter and trade. Okay, well, the town over here that's going to barter and trade, they're going to, people in that town are going to have some kind of skill to create something or a service that they can trade, because you're bartering and trading now, which means you need utilities. You're going to come up with something to give the utility company that's of equal value for what they want for their electric that month or their natural gas that month. And then, of course, if you don't own your house, you're going to come up with enough to pay whoever's owning your house. You're going to barter and trade for enough there, which means you better have a skill. Maybe you're a farmer. Maybe you can come up with enough crops to trade these people to get your survival. Let's say you're a plumber. And let's say in your small town there's 10 of you plumbers, but you're in a small town and it's the only trade you've ever known. Well, you're probably not going to be able to muster up enough plumbing work at people's homes to make a living because there's 10 of you. Do you follow what I'm saying? Because that's a small town. In a bigger area, you might be able to muster up 10 people. Plumbers could do it. Possibly. But the first time all the plumbing issues are fixed, then what are you going to do? Do you follow what I'm telling you? See, there's many trades out here that wouldn't do you any good. Okay, you wouldn't know. What are you going to trade? What are you going to trade with? Okay, let's say you go to work at a grocery store. Okay, you can stock shelves, you can run the cash register. Okay, but the grocery store is going to have to barter and trade with their food in order that that grocery store survive. Which means now how are they going to pay you? Oh, they're going to have to use their food or whatever they got to pay you, ain't they? Now, how are you going to use that? Well, that's what you do for a living, to trade for your gas bill, your light bill. Because you're bartering and trading for your labor over here in this grocery store. So now the groceries they're giving you for working, you better have an abundance of them, huh? That you can trade to somebody else to pay your light bill, to pay your electric bill, to pay your mortgage on your house, pay for your car payment, pay for your car insurance. Oh, what do you mean there won't be enough food because that's all you do for a living? See? Non-skilled people would be messed. They would be screwed over. What's the dishwasher going to do? Well, they do dishes for this place, but now how's that restaurant even going to survive? Because what are you going to trade to this restaurant to cook you that meal? Say you go to McDonald's. What are you going to trade to them? What have you got that you can trade to them that they'll want? Now do you see why bartering and trading would not work in our society today? So you're going to wind up having to go back, because that was just a small example. If you really get technical about what I just told you, you'd be in big trouble. Because there's going to be a whole lot more skilled this and skilled that than what there's going to be people able to barter and trade enough for them to be happy or satisfied. Restaurants and fast food joints would go out of business. Because nobody'd ever have anything to barter with for them. Because they'd have to barter to get the food that they're cooking to give to you. And that means they're bartering for the survival of their fast food joint, like McDonald's or Burger King, for example. So the people are going to barter and trade for food so they can cook it and serve you. Then you're going to barter and trade, so they're going to have enough of it to barter and trade for their electric and for their mortgage on their building or their utilities. That's right, their resources. And they're not going to make it. There's just no possible way they could even make it. Because too many people would have the same skills, too many people would have no skills, too many people would, you follow what I'm saying? And there wouldn't be enough. There'd be not enough of the major things to barter with. And even, so reality is slap you in the face that bartering would never work. Society's too advanced for bartering now. How are you going to barter for your electricity or your gasoline for your car? What are you going to make? What are you going to have a value that they want to trade you that for? And enough to get you through. The majority of people would not be able to do that. Isn't that true? So bartering would never work. Now let's go back to a community that created a new monetary system. The new money didn't have no interest tag to it. That's right, no interest. So the new monetary system says if we printed $100,000 and everybody was working to earn such dollar an hour, the money has no interest to a tag to it. So there's no kind of debt owed to it. It's not a debt-based currency. So now that currency can be traded back and forth for your earnings. It can be traded just like we do in today's society for your earnings. The difference is it would have no interest tag to it. So if the person who printed it says, I need this much back for printing it, you could give them that much back, but they can't ask for the whole amount back. See, you would have to print a substantial amount for everybody so that the money could be used and we could trade back and forth. And the value of that money, where's that going to come from? Well, see, money had no value to begin with. Money never did. You know where money gets its value? From us, the people. We place the value on that money. Whether if it's a $1 bill, a $2 bill, a $10 bill, $20, $100 bill, or a $50 bill. Follow what I'm saying? We, the people, are what places the value on that. So we'll have to decide when we make them know we create a new monetary system what value we're going to place on it. But the one thing you never want to do is tag an interest to it, that you should have interest. No, you shouldn't. It should be you print this much of this money. In return for the amount you printed that goes to everybody, you will be able to have this much of that money. Do you follow what I'm saying? To live on. And of course, the person printing the money is also going to have another skill. Because they're not going to be able to sit there and print endless money. Because there's not going to be endless money. But at the same time, the money would actually have the actual value with no interest tag to it. So it would always be able to be traded back and forth. That system would be very close to what you have now, with the exception of you wouldn't have somebody sitting, you got to pay me the interest. I never printed the interest for you. So now, how are you going to pay the interest back like the original system that was set up by the Federal Reserve? If you printed $100,000 and you owed them $150,000 back because they wanted $50,000 interest, even if you took all the $100,000 money that they printed and gave it back to them, you would still owe them $50,000. That wouldn't exist. Now they could roll in and take your house, couldn't they? Do you follow what I'm telling you? That's why it cannot be an interest-based dollar. That's why you have to do away with it. But for the truthers, as long as you have to have that tool to fight against these criminals, because you better understand, the people who own and run the monetary system, your money, are the people pulling the strings. No lie. How do you think they profit off both sides of a war? How do you think the Rothschilds did that? Because both countries that were fighting one another, or for World War II or whatever it was, needed money to build weapons to fight the other country. And the other country needed money to build weapons to fight back. So the Rothschilds sat there and gave both sides money with interest tagged to it. Now both countries owed these bankers interest from the money they give both sides. Well, they sat back and watched to kill one another. When it was all said and done, the countries couldn't pay back the interest, so now the Rothschilds walked into each country and took this much of this, and this much of this, and this much of this, and this much of this. Now they own that. Oh, you need more money to survive? Oh, we'll print you some more with interest. This is what the bankers have done since day one. Now you so-called truthers think you can beat them by using their currency now, by using their monetary, their money. You could never beat them in a million years. How? How are you going to beat them? You want to tell me how you're going to stop them? I'll tell you how you're going to stop them. By creating your own monetary system and walking away from theirs. They can't stop you. Oh, they're going to try. Damn right they will. They'll use their debt currency to pay somebody who's stupid enough to take it, when they'll still owe that banker now, to come with guns to try to stop you. But if that person was smart, they'd get over to you and you'd offer them as much, twice as much, just to put the guns down and forget it. The difference is the Rothschilds say you owe me this much money interest, and you say they don't owe you nothing. Oh shit, they just stood with you instead of the Rothschilds. Because if they can have the money without having to pay anything back, why would they want to pay the Rothschilds back? See, so it's called using your head. Making a video speaking the truth and having to have money for it, you're actually lynching your head. When you have to have money to tell truth, you're very lost. If you don't care about what's going on, you're very lost. Because as long as you turn your back to what's going on, you wonder how it got as bad as it is? It got as bad as it is from you turning your back to begin with. Now, of course, part of that is because you wasn't educated to the truth. You was educated to lies. To lies, to lies. But when I talk about the truth of the community, I'm talking about the people that are supposedly claiming they're awake. That they see the corruption going on. That they want the wars to end. They want the corruption to stop. This is what you so-called truthers are saying, right? Why you're asking for their tool. Money. That belongs to them. You lost. You're idiots. You couldn't beat them if you tried. Why are you wasting my time and everybody else's time? What are you wasting your breath for? Do you follow what I'm telling you? This is why you need to wake up and realize what's really taking place. Everybody's being run by criminals who have kept knowledge away from us deliberately for their own good, for their own gain. Who have kept technology away from you for their own gain. Tesla could have gave everybody free electricity if he wanted to. Everybody would have had free electricity when an electric bill a month. Because that's what Tesla intended to do. He wanted to do good with his inventions. But they wouldn't allow him. Because they want to do evil with their inventions. It's like making bombs to kill so many people. Why did you ever need to make a bomb to kill yourselves? To kill hundreds and thousands of your own selves. This is where the animals are smarter than the humans. I don't see a pack of dogs or a pack of cats conspiring to build a bomb to kill each other with. I don't see cats and dogs fighting over greed. Maybe food. But if there was enough food for all of them, they wouldn't be fighting at all. But they're not fighting over greed. Us dumb people are. You know, and then of course hiding the truth from people. Isn't that what Google's famous for doing? Isn't that why they censor our videos and take us down? Is to keep you from hearing the truth? That's right. Why does the truth hurt so many people? Because them people lie. Them people deceive and lie. Because truth don't hurt honest people. It only hurts the liars. You know, like seeking truth here on YouTube. Seeking the truth. He's not about seeking the truth. I've watched the guy take old news stories and manipulate you into believing they're current and happening right now for the tool. Because that's all he's after is the tool. Money. He don't care about the truth. He don't care about what's really going on. He's putting on a big old stage show to line his pocket and for fame and for subs and money in his pocket. He actually don't care what's going on. You know, a lot of you truthers I've discovered already, you don't want the problem to go away. You're getting up here and you're pretending you want it to go away when you don't. You don't really want it to go away. Because you're using and making the tool by the people who plan on killing you. Rather than fighting them back, you'll keep taking their money from them. And to the guns to the back of your head. Then you're going to be scratching your head trying to figure out how that happened to you. It happened to you because you were dumb. Because you were a complete idiot. Excuse my language. But that's why that happened to you. That's why we're losing. That's why it's a waste of time. Because we can never win. As long as we have Bozo the Clowns calling themselves truthers. It's like We Are Change, Lou Podolsky. The guy's an agent. He's a plant. You think you're following somebody good? No, you don't. Ask Cassie Dill. If he showed up for the lemonade stand that day at Carson White House. Of course he didn't. He already knew that she was going to go to jail. That's why he wasn't there. He set her up. And why would he do that? Because he's an agent. He's a plant. We have a whole bunch of Mossad running YouTube right now. And I'll say it. Yeah, Mossad. I'm not going to say any more about that topic because it's not allowed to be talked about. That's right. Isn't that right, Google? That's not a topic we're supposed to talk about. We're supposed to keep that hidden and never talk about it. And to the guns to the back of our head, we're scratching our head trying to figure out why. But I'll tell you this. For all the people who follow certain people on YouTube that have lots of subscribers who are speaking out supposedly about the truth and what's going on in our society, if they never talk about who we can't boycott, you know who I'm talking about. If they'll never talk about who we can't boycott or Mossad, you know, then they're a plant. They're not here for the right reason. They're not being honest with you. There's a certain person on YouTube with the first name of Jason. We won't say the last name. I think you all know who he is. He does live feeds every day. He lives in a $4 million apartment. And he travels as much as he wants and does as many live feeds as he wants. Did you ever ask him where he got his money? How he could afford to live in an apartment that you'll never be able to live in your life? How many of you people could afford to live in a $4 million apartment in the most richest part of New York? Come on, how many of you? And then this guy's going to ask you for donations. So he lives in a place that's more expensive, so expensive that you probably won't even make that amount of money in your entire life. That's right, in your entire life, you'll probably never earn that much money. And that's the price of his apartment. And he travels from place to place anytime he wants. But he needs your money. Why don't you wake up and realize if these people that you're following and listening to can't talk about the place we're not allowed to boycott and can't talk about, well, it's in your face, then obviously they're working for the people that you think you're fighting against. They just can't get any plain and clearer than that now, can it? You know why they're doing it? For the same reason you jerks are, for the tool. How about creating our own tool, our own monetary system, and walking away from their system completely? See, don't think your government don't understand this. They do. They could have thrown the bankers out years ago, created their own monetary system for this country, turned things around and ended everything, all the corruption that's going on years ago. But they won't. You know why? Because they're all bought paid for. That's why.